Okay, so today, as the free topic, I decided to talk about this topic. We already talked about this chapter from the gospel in the past, not too far ago. But I believe that when you have in mind some hints, when it's okay, so maybe I need to talk again. Maybe I didn't approach in the best way last time, so let's talk a little bit again. So, and the topic is about love your enemies, right? So in this part, before I start, I just would like to talk about the word enemy, right? So we can consider this word so strong when you consider someone that like to fight, or you don't like a lot, or this kind of thing, right? So I guess the first point is to try to use this word as okay, someone that disagree with you, or don't think the same way that you think, or even if you can say, oh, is it the enemy, or this kind of thing. This word for me personally seems to be pretty strong, right? So, and but in that time was in the context from Jesus to show this, okay, was a lot of a disagreement between the Jewish people there, right? So a lot of uh, prejudice between them, a lot of things happening in that time, on the time of Jesus. And even when he start teachings, his teachings, right? So on the region there, so a lot of people disagree and was kind of hostile about with him and his disciples, right? So, and there's a passage that mentioned on the gospel when the disciples came to Jesus very disappointed about, so they start saying bad things about you and you fight back, and we didn't like that, and the feelings were hot in that time, even with the disciples, right? So, and what was the teachings from Jesus for to them in that time, right? So don't worry, don't fight. If you find people like that, turn around and move on, right? So that was the teachings that he mentioned to them, and this is important, right? So to see, okay, instead of to fight, right? If the disagreements, so they don't like, they disagree about the Jesus teachings because he was considered the son of God, right? So, and the Jewish law was totally crazy about that, and everything happened, right? So going back to the term enemies, so let's consider that. So for everybody that don't agree with you, and sometimes you don't have a good feelings, or hostile, or this kind of thing, right? So let's consider enemies in this context, right? And nowadays we are seeing a lot of situations when the disagreements are leading to fights. And I remembered for the speech from the president from the United States that last week, that he mentioned, so it's not because we disagree that we are enemies, right? So we disagree because you disagree. You have your point of view, I have my point of view, but it's not because of that we need to kill each other, right? So that's the point that you need to put in context to talk about this subject, right? So not means that I don't agree with you, that I need to kill you, or this kind of things. But sometimes what you are seeing in our society is the extremes, right? So people are, you're not with me, you are against me, right? So it's not that way. So we just need to open mind to understand this. So, and I guess that this approach will help us to lead with these situations. So In that time, we need to remember that we have eye by eye still in place, right? So when you have in the Jesus time, this was pretty strong from the Jewish law, right? So when because was from the Moses and everything, there's nothing wrong with that in that time, but Jesus came and said differently, right? So we don't need to do it that way. We need to do it the other way, right? So you need to love each other, you need to love your neighbors, you need to love your enemies, right? So in that time was a very totally different view that they had in that time, right? So this is one point that bring, oh, what's going on here, right? And his teachings was very clear. And I will talk a little bit later on this. Emmanuel, this item was the most common item by Emmanuel on the whole Chico Xavier lectures, right? So on the whole, on the gospel, the most commented uh, um, point that Jesus mentioned by Emmanuel was this one, right? So there is a purpose for that. Should be a reason for that. Otherwise, Emmanuel will not comment too much, right? So a lot. So, and the second point, love just who loves you. So is another teaching that was very clear by Jesus that mentioned, okay, if you just love the ones that are close to you or the ones that are in the same religion than you or Pharisees or publican or other kind of things, that divisions that they have in that time, he uses as an example. What is the difference, right? So you're doing someone because it's close to you, is natural, that, right? So you have tenderness, you have similar thoughts or similar feelings, so it's okay, right? So but what is the difference if you just do that, right? So if you just do that, there is no difference on that point. So what is the difference between you and the others, right? So, and also in this point, is important to remember about the reincarnation, right? So the point that you are just not just in one life, you have multiples, right? So you need to reincarnate again, and you need, if you just see in one point of view, in the, oh, okay, you will just live one life. If Isabel bother me, I can kill her and that's it, it's done, right? So problem solved, right? But it's not easy in that way, because we know that if I do something to her, she'll be free. And in that way, she can look for revenge against me in a free way, kind of, right? So it means that these relationships never ends unless you have a good result, right? So, and this is another point that we need to remember, that if you have just one point of view, maybe you can consider that okay, I can kill the evil and it's done, right? So, and this is the approach that we can think when you see about, when you talk about wars, right? So when you have a war and I defeat my enemy in the war, it means that okay, the enemy is gone. It's not true. We know that it's not true, right? They can come back in a different way, and this will continue till this problem be solved. So this is another point here. So the other one, if is very explicit on the gospel, according to Spiritism, that love your enemies is a virtue that represents one of the greatest victories which can be achieved against selfishness and pride. Selfishness, right? And pride. So, and this is pretty direct and straight, and that we know in the beginning of our studies in Spiritism that they mention about these two vices are the main problems that we are still facing in our evolution, right? In some levels, different, more pride, some the other. So you have these problems still, right? So, oh, I have this. Now we have the vaccine, right? And you are seeing a lot of people skipping the line to get the vaccines before the others and these kind of things. Oh, this is pretty nice, right? So, I mean, if you have science mentioned that we need to follow some criterias and someone can skip that way, oh, because it's my friend, oh, I have power to decide, I can choose, oh, let's vaccinate the PTSS first, and after we can decide who can get the vaccine, right? So little things that you can, if you look now, you notice that, right? It's still around, right? So in some situations, right? And the other is about the physical law, right? So when they mention about these feelings, uh, Jesus mentioned, right? So that is not the same way the word that we use love to love the enemies or someone that you don't agree with, someone that you have a very good relationship, you have a good connection, right? So it's different. It's not possible for us to have the same level, right? So because you need to, if you don't have tenderness, is you don't have trust, right? Our bonds will not be the same, right? So because we always will feel okay, I I I have these feelings with someone, right? And someone did something to me, or I don't like because of this or that. What we are doing in this situation, right? So we are moving fluid with our will. We are moving through our thoughts, some feelings towards the other spirit, the other person, right? And vice versa. This is a normal connection that we have with everybody, right? So that's why in the gospel they mention, so that's why sometimes when you are in the presence with someone that you have some disagreements, there is something that you feel, right, that is not right, right? Maybe you are sending not good vibrations, or maybe the other is not sending good vibrations to you, or so, and this is totally physical, right? So we see about the fluidic relation that you have, so that we can move the fluid through our words, actions, and thoughts. So that's why we sometimes we feel, oh, I don't feel well in the presence with someone, maybe because you still have some points to align, right? And this is another point that is bring to us. That's why our thoughts and actions and words are so important, because we are moving fluid in that situation. And uh, going to the point, right? So what's love meaning in this context? I just brought from the gospel, right? So the very explicit and clear explanation. So it's not that, okay, we forget everything that I suffer because the actions from someone else, right? So we need to remember that in the same way that you can suffer from the actions from someone, sometimes we are causing this same to the other person or other people, right? So sometimes not intentionally, but you cause from something that you speak, you thought, you act, your actions, right? So, and this is one thing that we need to consider, right? So it not means that you have the same behavior with someone that I don't agree, right? So because the fluidic connection and because this is not possible to do that. But on the other hand, so not keeping the hate or desire to have your vengeance, and do something that can be bad for the other people. So is the beginning, right? So for that, so to love the enemies, right? So this is another point that is the gospel brought pretty clear, right? So without hiding thoughts and without conditions. So this is another point that I'd like to highlight here. So it means as let it go, right? So if it happens, so let it go, try to do better. And so is mentioned here about the words and actions, and I mentioned about the thoughts, right? So because we know that what we think, so we are moving fluid, we are doing something that can affect. That's why the prayer is so strong, right? When you do a prayer for someone, so we're moving fluid towards this person, right? To try to help us to get guide. And that's why Jesus mentioned to us, pray to your enemies, right? And another point here is when you talk about forgiveness, right? And love your enemies and forget, it not means that you are considering that it's okay if you did something bad to me, or if I did something bad to you. Okay, forgiveness is okay, forget about that, move on, don't will any bad consequences for that. But we know that the action and reaction law will have the consequences. This is the law, right? So is not mean that okay, I forgive you for something horrible that you make to me. I say okay, I don't wish you bad things, but the consequences for your acts, I cannot solve that. Nobody can, even for our own decisions, our own actions, right? So this is sometimes when we think about forgiveness in the way, okay, I forget that everything is good, never happened, so it's done, right? Unfortunately, it's not that way, right? So you can forgive to don't keep that in your mind, but the consequences for your actions, you receive that, right? So and so that is one point that is important, because sometimes when you talk about forgiveness, this means that okay, we don't need to, that's gone, is good. No, the consequences are still there, right? And moving. And for the last part that I would like to talk is about the gospel by Emmanuel, right? So when I mentioned in the beginning that Emmanuel commented this topic a lot, and he mentioned this topic as I already presented, I guess, last time. I don't remember, but I guess it's a good recipe for us to remember and to follow, because to me it seems to be pretty logical, right? Rational. Let's use the word from the rise from Kardec. So the first one is to redefine the enemy's intention, right? So sometimes the things happening against us, or we can act against somebody else without intention, but we did, right? So because we didn't know, or the other didn't know. So and this sentence reminds me the term, the passage from Jesus when he was talking with Peter, and Peter will deny Jesus 3 times before the day, right? And Jesus was talking to Peter and say, so so by the end of the day, you figure it out that the people are more weak than evil, because Jesus knows that Peter will deny him, right? So, and that's why he mentioned that. So people are more weak than evil, right? So we need to redefine the enemy's intention. Sometimes, oh, I made something, Isabel, to you, but I didn't mean that. So I didn't see you, or not the meaning that you like to say, right? So, and sometimes happen, right? And when you redefine the enemy's intention, just to know, okay, it's not on purpose. So you can kind of, okay, if it's not on purpose, it's not too bad, right? So, and even if it's on purpose, right? So you can think, okay, if it's on purpose, because this person is not in the level of the consciousness yet. They don't have the knowledge yet to act in a right way, right? So that's why Jesus applied to us. So he knows that we are not strong. You had a lot of things to learn, and we made a lot of mistakes, right? So redefining the enemy's intention, right? The second goes is froze. Okay, evil is cured by good. So by example, that's why. So don't fight, right? So we need to show by example, and you have our master example by Jesus showing that don't fight, right? If someone hits you, give you the other cheek, right? So, and it's mean don't pay evil with evil, right? So we need to try to do the opposite, and this is hard sometimes because we think, okay, if you act in this way, we'll be decimated, right? Is not true, right? So not means that you need to say, okay, if someone try to hit you, we need to, okay, hits me more and kill me. No, it's not that way. The explanation is not prohibited for you to defend yourself. It's not prohibited. You need to defend yourself because your life is, we need to show love for yourself, right? So you not need to allow the others to do something that is wrong against you. No, we need to defend yourself, right? But on the other hand, you don't need to fight back. That's the point, right? So that's through our pride. Sometimes it's difficult, right? So for a man, for example, if someone hits me, you hit back, right? Because I have my honor, I have this and this and this, right? It's hard, right? It's pretty hard, but that's why we our lesson, right? So don't fight back, right? So otherwise you have the consequences for your actions. The third is do not allow the others to decide how you should act. This is, I guess, is, in my opinion, is pretty strong, right? So to see, you know what, we need to put yourself in a way that you decide how you need to act. If someone offends you or someone hits you or try to make something bad to you, go back to the first point, redefine the enemy's intention. Maybe it's not on purpose, and even if it's on purpose, it's because this person is still learning. They didn't know what I know, right? I cannot fight back. I cannot decide, it's okay, if you like to fight, let's fight. No, the others are deciding how you need to act. No, I need to decide, right? So this is important for you to take control of your actions, emotions, and words, thoughts, right? So this is important thing to you, right? And I was reading when I was preparing this lesson, there is a part in the gospel mentioned that when more elevated you are, less the material things will affect you. right? So means that more spiritually you are, try to be elevated, so less the material things, the bad things will try to affect you. So not means that you not be heated, but means that you be considered in a different way, right? So forgiveness helps first the one that who forgives. So in the way that you are not considering the burden or allowing the others to decide how you need to act, and means that you will be more free to act and think and go to the things that really um, means, right? So they're really important, right? So no, just okay. If I don't forgive, is your problem. You are getting that burden. You are thinking about that situation, and you are emotionally affected by that. So, and what you are doing, you are moving fluids towards the wrong direction, right? And you know that when you're doing that, what happened spiritually talking, our vibration will be too low, that the others spirits in the same level will be so, oh, I like Adriano, I will join him, oh yeah, let's fight, yeah, just do that, right? So, and you are attracting to us the companies that sometimes are not good for us, right? So on the other hand, if you forgive and you try to move on and like to pray, like to uh, to high our vibration, so means that we are trying to attract or closer to the spirits in the same level, or they are more open to help us, right? So this one, I changed the one. Compassion is the base of sympathy, right? So I don't know if it's the right word, honestly, to use in English, right? So, but yeah, I had empathy before, but I thought that empathy was not the right one. Yeah, so is but the meaning is that when you have this kind of behavior, right? So you disarm the others that sometimes like to fight, right, with you. So because you are showing that, okay, I'm not willing to do that, I'm trying to help, I have to good intention, right? So to do, and I mean that the other seeing that, not the 100% of the case, of course, because depends the other decision, the other behavior, but is a open door, right? So it's better for someone to be more friendly to you if you are open to that, right? So if someone is okay, good morning, you don't show and don't say anything, turn your face, so it's hard for someone to be okay, but it's that decision, I'm doing my part, right? So in this case, if you are doing the first step, you are trying, not means that the other side will be in the same level, and that's the point. We don't need to wait or expect the same reaction for the other side, right? So when you are doing good, right, because you are feel good because you are doing good, right? So the other point here is Emmanuel mentioned that the enemies are teachers in the meaning that they are bringing sometimes us to think about, right? So, and sometimes they are right, sometimes they are not, but they bring to us to think about in the way that's okay. I'm doing this. I didn't know this. I I realize now when you mentioned that, right? And you consider someone that you are against you in this sense, but in fact sometimes they are trying to help and you don't understand, right? So this is hard, right? So and this is the point for enemies to see this as a teachers, in the point that to make you think about, to reflect, to see it's okay, maybe I'm not doing this right, or the others are understanding the different way. So this is the point there. And the last one is mentioned that our true enemies are our pride, selfishness, discouragement, wickedness, and cruelty. Right? When you think about vengeance and to pay back and the same level, eye by eye. Right? So that's the point I like to bring for us to discuss, to think about. And I mentioned that nowadays in our situation, any situation that you see this kind of disagreement or kind of empathy, right? We need to remember about the feelings and the actions and our actions facing this situation, to love our enemy and to pray for them.